event, we had 245,000 views.
Wow. Wow. This was on which platform?
It was doctors.com. It was a video consult platform.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we are live. Good evening, everyone. 40th day of lockdown and 10th webinar. Today, the topic is very, very interesting. It's all about diabetes, whether it is type 1 diabetes, whether it is type 2 diabetes. क्या करना चाहिए, दवाई बंद तो नहीं करनी है, दवाई बढ़ानी तो नहीं है, मैं डॉक्टर को मिल नहीं पा रहा हूँ, मुझे इंसुलिन नहीं मिल रही है, मुझे लग रहा है कि मुझे कोविड तो नहीं हो गया, मुझे बताया जा रहा है कि डायबिटीज को कोविड ज्यादा होता है और वो बहुत जल्दी मर जाते हैं. So these are the n number of questions which we got to know, and we thought why not to get the experts from across India and also USA to discuss all these points, right? So let me introduce my panel. First of all, let me introduce my dear friend, Dr. Swapnil Khare from USA. Swapnil is Assistant Professor of Clinical Medicine, Section of Endocrinology, Director for Inpatient Diabetes, Adult Academic Health Center, Indiana University, Purdue, Indianapolis. She's an American board certified endocrinologist. She lead endocrinologist Cystic Fibrosis Center, Indiana and Purdue University, Indianapolis. She did her graduation from Gandhi Medical College, Bhopal, and also pursued her residency in radiology. Then she moved to USA, where from St. Luke's University Hospital, she did her residency in internal medicine. Further, she did her fellowship in endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism from Temple University. She's also member Insulin Failure Modes Committee, St. Luke's University Hospital, Bethlehem. Executive member Diabetes Care Committee, Geisinger Medical Center, Danville, Pennsylvania. Inpatient Diabetes Medical Director, IU Health Audit Academic Health Center. She's also member of American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists, American Diabetes Association, American College of Physicians. She has more than 6 peer-reviewed teaching presentations and more than 20 publications in national and international journals. I welcome you, Dr. Khare.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thukral.
We also have with us today from India, a very senior nutritionist from Chennai, Meenakshi Bajaj. She's a registered dietitian with more than 27 years of experience in clinical and therapeutic nutrition, a certified bariatric and critical care nutritionist, certified diabetic educator and nutrogenomics consultant, certified in renal and onco-nutrition by European Society of Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism, National Executive Committee member, Indian Dietetic Association, Association of Diabetes Educators, Executive Committee member of Nutrition Society of India, Chennai chapter, former President, Indian Dietetic Association, Chennai chapter. She has also authored a Handbook of Food Exchanges, Diet Metrics in 2019. She is recipient of Sadhana Award 2020 for contributions in the field of clinical and therapeutic nutrition, and was also the medical nutritionist to His Excellency, the Governor of Tamil Nadu. She works with the government institute and hospital as the head of dietetics. I welcome you, Meenakshi.
Thank you so much.
I have with me Dr. Saptrishi Bhattacharya from Delhi. He's a senior consultant and head department of endocrinology, Max Super Specialty Hospital, Padparganj. He's the director for eHealth Diabetes and Endocrinology Center, President Society for Promotion of Education in Endocrinology and Diabetes, guest editor, Endocrinology Issue, Journal of Medical, and has multiple publications in national and international journals. He did his master's from Maulana Azad Medical College and then did his DM Endocrinology from the prestigious AIMS Institute. With 17 years of work experience, out of that 14 years dedicated to endocrinology, he has also been associated with Apollo's Diabetes, Thyroid Clinic, and Kailash Hospital. I welcome you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
Thank you, Dr. Thukral.
It's a proud moment to introduce Dr. Saurabh Uppal, a very dear junior of mine, who did his MBBS from GMCH Chandigarh and then did his MD Pediatrics from Government Medical College, Amritsar, did his fellowship in pediatric endocrinology from Manipal Hospital, HAL, and also did his MRCPCH from the Royal College of England in 2018, right? postdoctoral fellowship of European Society of Pediatric Endocrinology from Elder Hay Children's Hospital, Liverpool in 2018. He's a published author with several research papers, 3 textbook chapters to his credit, and reviewer for the Journal of Indian Pediatrics and several open access journals of endocrinology. He's a member of Asia Pacific Pediatric Endocrine Society, European Pediatric Endocrinology, Growth Research Society of India, Indian Society of Pediatric and Adolescent Endocrinology, National Neonatology Forum, Asia Pacific Pediatric Endocrine Society, European Society of Pediatric Endocrinology, Growth Research Society of India. I welcome you, Dr. Uppal.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Dr. Tukral.
Which society chhodi nahi tune? So let's get on to job today. So my first question is to my esteemed panel, and I'll start with our Indian experience with Dr. Bhattacharya. So how COVID is changing things for diabetic patients in India? What's changing for, what are the challenges that diabetes patients are facing as of now?
See, I will like to add at this point of time, there are 2 major issues which the diabetics are facing. One is availability and accessibility of healthcare. So somebody is used to a routine checkup with a doctor. Somebody is used to getting a routine blood glucose levels checked, HbA1c checked after 3 months. Somebody's visit is due after, say, after a month. So that person is not able to do that. He's not able to reach his doctor or medical healthcare professionals in the way that person is used to. So that is a huge challenge. So the person has to manage it to some extent on his own. So there are other ways which are opening up. We'll come to that later. And on top of that, obviously, there is a risk associated with diabetes and COVID-19. So there are very clear-cut studies and research and papers are there which suggest that there is an increased chance of severe disease with diabetes. So these are 2 major aspects which are there as of now, and we need to be careful when we are dealing with diabetic patients in the COVID-19 pandemic setting.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Swapnil, what are your patients? What are the problems with your patients in USA?
I would agree with what Dr. Bhattacharya said. I think like these are very different situations for patients with diabetes. They have all these questions and concerns which they never faced before. And with all these questions, concerns, and fears that they have interruption in their routine care. So first of all, they don't know who is a valid resource for them to reach out. And second, there is a fear that if something happens, how are they going to navigate the system? Who is going to help them? So I think those are the concerns here as well. We can talk about how some of these can be resolved. Yes, diabetes has been associated or identified by CDC as a high risk disease to have COVID, as well as higher complication rates. So I want to tell you that I'm actually submitted an IRB approval for my hospital to look more into that as a research proposal. But yes, so this all plays into the patient's fear. And I think this needs to be addressed. And before they reach out to search engines and get some advice which can be harmful for them. And then probably Meenakshi can talk about it as well. But people's life changed overnight. They were in lockdown. Their sleep schedule was different. They're eating different. Their stress level is different. Their family members are worried about them. They are worried about their family members if they will get exposed. And so this is a completely different life. And diabetes, as we know, touches every aspect of lifestyle and your life. So their control may be different before all this, but now it's different. And they have all these questions and they don't know where to turn to.
Yeah, I agree. At one end, there is so much of information that the WhatsApp has become toxic. At the same time, there is a lack of authentic information, and hence experts like you who can guide these people. Let's quickly switch over to Saurabh. How are your children faring, the type 1 diabetics?
So thank you to both the speakers for just a very comprehensive overview. As a group, children are a bit luckier than adults because they are not at higher risk for COVID-19 and its associated comorbidities, because as such, they are not an immunocompromised group. The challenges they are facing right now, as Dr. Bhattacharya pointed out, are number one, access to healthcare. And number two, as Dr. Swapnil also pointed out, their routines have totally changed. And we all know that when it comes to type 1 diabetes and children, lifestyle always comes before insulin accessibility. So they are munching all the time. There's no control on their food. Plus, they're not waking up in time. They're up all night, and they're also absorbing stress from the parents and the environment. So primarily, these are the challenges they are facing, and things are going for a toss for a lot of children. And because they are at home all day, it just opens a whole new Pandora's box for parents as to how to manage their diabetes. And also because they're very young, you cannot really explain it to them what is COVID and what is a coronavirus and all that. So that is a very real challenge that we are facing. And accessibility to healthcare, if they go into a DKA, is really alarming. And especially we are seeing this in the second part of the lockdown. A lot of our patients from remote areas, accessibility is very, very poor. They are not being able to reach hospitals. So that brings all the more into focus on how we need to improve diabetes at home in the COVID times. And that's what we'll be discussing in the further part of this live session.
Actually, would you like to add to it what challenges your patients are facing and what's happening on the government side also? You're on mute, man. Actually, you need to unmute, please, yourself. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
So when it comes to the patient side, we have two extreme ends. One extreme end is like there is a master chef in every house. You know, they're Googling YouTube videos and daily there's a new dish coming up and everybody's trying all sorts of dishes. Then second thing is they have an excuse called access to the right food. That is just an excuse. There are more of convenience food, and unfortunately Swiggy and Zomato is still on, you know. I would have been more happy if the lockdown situation did not have Swiggy and Zomato, because it has made the life of people with diabetes even worse. That is one extreme end. The other extreme end is they are so very touchy about their sugars, you know. They are really touchy about their sugars. They are so worried about COVID that any diet anybody is sharing in and around what's coming on WhatsApp, they want to try it, immaterial whether the urea is high, whether the potassium is high, or whether, you know, their HbA1cs were not doing so well, immaterial of all that. Now they are only worried, okay, what sort of spice in my diet or what sort of ingredient in my diet will prevent me from COVID. So there are two different extremes here right now.
Thanks for sharing that for the speakers and everyone. We have a full house on Zoom, 100 people just attending your talk, and then there are 85 people live on Facebook at this time. And in the last 15 minutes, we have reached already to more than 300 people. So my next question, I flip to Dr. Bhattacharya. So rightly said that there is a fear psychosis. You have a decay. You can't reach because of the border sealed. Yes, there are millions of master chefs who have avtarit ho gaye overnight, and then there are millions of diets which have also come. But Dr. Basu, tell me, if I am a diabetic and my sugar is controlled, right? When should I suspect that I might have COVID infection and I should seek help?
See, the symptoms of COVID, if you just want to make it simple, will be like influenza or a normal flu. But obviously, over the last few months, what we have understood is that the outcome or the manifestations or the mortality rate may be much higher than normal influenza. So initially, to start with, somebody might have fever or dry cough and tiredness, which are symptoms very much seen in influenza or a normal flu. There are some unusual symptoms like body aches and pains, headache, sore throat, diarrhea, which are slightly atypical but has been reported. So again, you need to be careful if you start feeling fever and start having body ache or diarrhea. So then also you cannot rule out COVID-19. There are 2-3 unusual signs and symptoms which have been found to indicate a high probability of COVID-19 infection. One of that is loss of taste or smell. So if somebody is having fever and loss of taste or smell, so that can be a very important clue. So that is again an unusual and atypical manifestation which has come up. Then there are some very rare side effects like discoloration of fingers or toes, so COVID toes, which are being labeled in some Spanish and Italian children. So these are slightly unusual, but again can be manifestations of them, of COVID-19. The point where you need to be careful is if you develop shortness of breath, fever, shortness of breath, you need to get in touch with your doctor. At the same point of time, you need to look into your history of contact. If somebody has a history of contact with a COVID-19 patient, then obviously the chance of acquiring COVID-19 is much higher. So you need to look into it. And a particularly important sign for manifestation for diabetes, which is valid for almost any infection with diabetes, is that if somebody gets infected, be it a bacterial infection or viral infection or COVID-19, so there is a chance that the blood sugars might start fluctuating. So somebody was controlled with a certain amount of insulin, suddenly with the same insulin, the sugar starts shooting up, then you need to think that whether that person has caught a new infection or not.
Correct. And are the diabetics, so one, the diabetics have so many other complications. They would have heart problem, heart failure also, they would have neuropathies also, right? Does all these complicate the emergence of the symptoms itself?
Definitely. So there was a paper published from China where almost close to 2,500 patients were analyzed. So the two most important risk factors were hypertension and diabetes. So there are also other risk factors like cardiovascular disease, stroke, and pre-existing lung disease, even pre-existing cancer. And CKD was not mentioned in that paper, but that can also be another predisposing risk factor for a higher disease severity. So, and diabetic patients, as we all know, that all these diseases, they tend to club together in diabetes. So if somebody is having diabetes, that person will, there is a 60 to 70% chance who will also be having hypertension. So there may be a 1/3 chance of having a cardiovascular disease. So all these put together, the chance of morbidity and mortality in a COVID-19 infection for a diabetic person is much higher.
Yes, Swapnil, you want to add to it, right?
I just wanted to add something that we have noticed in our practice in US, that many patients have presented with DKA with COVID infection. Diabetic ketoacidosis, as we know, is a sickness that is associated with diabetes where there's high blood sugars and acids in the body. So we have seen so many cases with COVID presenting as DKA that it's now routine to screen all DKA patients for COVID now. And there was a small hint that there was some worsening of leg ulcers, like people who have leg ulcers associated with diabetes, that worsened probably with COVID, but there's no hard data to prove that it was actually correlation, but maybe an association.
And Swapnil, it is also said that the diabetes would have a poorer prognosis. They would have more severe complications. What's your take on that once they are COVID positive?
So yes, the rate of ICU admission for patients who have diabetes is higher. We actually studied it at our own institute. In one point of time, 50% of patients in ICU had history of diabetes or were on insulin. And these do not include the patients who still had high blood sugars but were not on insulin. So there is more people with diabetes in critical care or ICU admission than people without diabetes. We know that the length of stay, meaning the number of days the patient stays in critical care, is higher for people with diabetes. With COVID, I think I'm still waiting for a good data to come out exactly what the mortality rate is. But looking at other infections and other diseases, we can formulate that it's probably acting the same way and probably the complications would be higher. But yes, definitely ICU stay is higher, ventilation requirement is higher, and length of stay in the ICU is higher.
So my next question is to, again, Dr. Bhattacharya. Then what are, if the prognosis, if you can get infected easily, the severity is more, prognosis is more, is there any special precautions the diabetic patients need to take when at home and they are euglycemic or they are mildly hypo or hyperglycemic?
So I just would like to correct you at one point. So it has been seen that if a diabetes acquires an infection, so the chance of severity or the chance of ventilatory requirement or chance of ICU admission or mortality is higher. But as of now, there is nothing to suggest that diabetics are more prone to infection. So if somebody is, there are population-based studies from China, and so where the prevalence of diabetes percentage is like 10%, and the prevalence of diabetes in a COVID-19 infected population was also 10%. So it was more or less the chance of infection is similar to that of the population. But once somebody with diabetes acquires COVID-19 infection, the prognosis is going to be worse. There is a probability, and we still need, as Dr. Swapnil said, that we still need more concrete data to say whether glycemic control improves outcome for diabetic patients in the setting of COVID-19. We do not still have that much of data whether there is a correlation with HbA1c value and outcome in COVID-19 infection. But the standard teaching and what we see for rest of the infection is that if somebody has a well-controlled diabetes, then the chance of having a severe complication might be less. So there is some data which suggests that this retrospective analysis that HbA1c, if it's better, and if the glycemic fluctuation in ICU is less, then the outcome is better. But we still need more hard concrete evidence to state that convincingly. But at this point of time, for a diabetic person, the most important thing to do is to control his or her blood glucose levels in whatever way possible. So obviously for that, diet is important, exercise is important, and optimization of medication is important. So if somebody's glycemic control is optimum, the sugars are within control, maybe that person just needs to continue the same medication. There is no need to meet a doctor. If you still want to meet a doctor, don't go to a hospital or don't go to his clinic. Maybe try to arrange for a telemedicine now that it has been legalized in India. But if somebody's blood sugars are not under control, definitely you need to intervene and need to do something about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, actually, you wanted to add something. Yes.
Yeah. There's a recent paper published on April 30th in Cell Metabolism, which is from China, obviously, which did quote that if the patient had a better glycemic control previously, so they do much better in prognosis and they have fewer complications. This is just published on April 30th.
Thanks for that. Let me go back to Swapnil. So Swapnil, things have changed overnight, right? And Dr. Bhattacharya just said that teleconsultation is the norm, right? But you were telling me that you have framed some protocols for in-hospital diabetic admissions also. So could you just shed some light on how the OPD and IPD practices are changing so that the fear psychosis which people have about going to the hospital, we might be able to allay that?
So let me talk about inpatient diabetes management first. So there have been several challenges which were unique to the COVID pandemic. What our experience has been that once people with diabetes are admitted with COVID, they can have very high insulin resistance. What it means is that their insulin requirements can be very high. We have few patients whose insulin requirements can be hundreds of units of insulin a day. So, and even then we are struggling to control their blood sugar. So of course, there is a need for better blood sugar control. Traditionally, what hospitals and we have done is that we put these patients on insulin drip, which is insulin through your IV, and we get a good control. But what that needs is hourly blood sugar checks and the nurse going in the room adjusting the drip rate every hour. And so that raises a question about the nursing exposure and how can we conserve PPE if the nurse is going into the rooms every hour. So that actually pushed us to look into things that we have traditionally not done. So for the hyperglycemia, with this level of hyperglycemia, we have many hospitals in US has developed protocols to manage this with sub-Q injections. We have looked into older forms of insulin, NPH, which has longer duration of action. So we are using a lot of sub-Q protocols. Most often right now, different hospitals are developing their own protocols. Maybe they may be collaborating, but most of them have some kind of sub-Q insulin protocols. We have actually also developed sub-Q protocols for treating diabetic ketoacidosis with sub-Q injections, which was traditionally treated just with insulin drip. So that we have done. For the blood sugar checks, what we are doing is the continuous glucose monitor. These are small devices which are placed on patient's body and they check the blood sugar 24/7. And you can get the data from these devices on a cloud outside the room. So FDA approved CGM, not approved, actually authorized hospitals to use CGM. And many hospitals are now trying to use the CGM. So I actually have meetings scheduled this week. So we are trying to utilize CGM so nursing don't have to go in to check blood sugars every hour. So that would be the other thing. Some hospitals are using different kind of IV poles. So they have a longer tubing. So they are putting it outside the room. So if you have to change the drip rate or something, the nurses don't have to go inside the room. There are issues with that. Of course, it's a longer tubing. So there's problems with clots, especially there's a concern that this can be a hypercoagulable state. So that is what we are doing as inpatient, like developing more protocols for sub-Q, trying to minimize AccuChecks. And AccuChecks is blood sugar checks for the patients, and then trying to minimize the drip rate changes and conserving PPE and protecting our nurses.
Thank you, Swapnil. That was, yeah. Please continue.
Actually, I can talk about outpatient later when you want to talk about telemedicine.
Sure. So let me go to Saurabh now. He has been sitting silent for long. Saurabh, Swapnil was talking about insulin, and all your patients are dependent on insulin. How are they managing? Is insulin shortage also a problem because supply chain was disrupted? And how are you managing your patients in this pandemic?
Yes, talking on a general aspect, yes, there was insulin shortage, but luckily, somehow we had warned all the families with us that such a situation may arise because there was a very timely guidance from the International Society for Pediatric Diabetes that China faced insulin shortage. So we had given a heads up to all the families with us to stock insulin for a month or so. But even then there were problems, and but now more or less the insulin supply problem has been solved and they are getting insulin. And right now the challenges they have is about dose titration because they're not going to their doctors as such. If the family is already on carb counting and they know how to titrate their own doses, then they are doing it themselves. For the others, we have created helplines wherein they can contact our practice, where we do give them a hand holding and guidance to titrate their doses. How they're doing it, as far as insulin is concerned.
So Saurabh, you will be happy to know that we have 200 people watching us live, and we have already reached to more than 2,000 people. So when so many people are looking at you and this is such an engaged webinar, what is your advice to these children and their parents to manage when they can't access their doctor, whether it is for routine management or whether it's for emergent management?
Okay. So first and foremost is that they have to take blood glucose very seriously, because ये एक ऐसा टाइम है कि डॉक्टर के पास जाने से पहले ही आपने ठीक रहना है, और बिकॉज डॉक्टर के पास आप जा नहीं सकते हो, सो आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बढ़ जाएगी, ब्लड ग्लूकोज नॉर्मल रखी जाए. बच्चों में जब डायबिटीज आती है तो डी पहले आता है और आई बाद में आता है. सो डाइट इज फर्स्ट. इम्पॉर्टेंटली इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट कि फैमिलीज अपना डाइट शेड्यूल फिक्स्ड रखें. ये नहीं है कि बच्चा कभी भी उठ के खाना खाने लग जाए, उसके फिक्स्ड डाइट टाइमिंग्स रखें, बिकॉज आपके डॉक्टर ने जो डोज सेट की हुई है इंसुलिन की, वो बच्चे के उठने के टाइम के हिसाब से डिफरेंट डे के डिफरेंट टाइम के हिसाब से डोज सेट है. तो रूटीन ब्रेक नहीं करनी है बच्चों की, टाइम पे खाना देना है. और ये ध्यान रखना है कि इन बिटवीन द मील टाइम्स, दैट जिसको हम स्नैक टाइम बोलते हैं या खाने के बीच का टाइम है, उसमें बहुत ज्यादा बच्चे को स्नैकिंग करने से रोकना है. और अगर बच्चा स्नैक्स मांगता भी है तो उसको लो कार्बोहाइड्रेट ऑप्शंस देनी है. So Mrs. Bajaj is there. She's a very experienced dietitian, so she'll be telling us more about what should be the exact diet. But carbohydrates कम देने हैं, so जिससे कि आपकी बच्चे की इंसुलिन की रिक्वायरमेंट ना बढ़े, और अगर इंसुलिन आने वाले टाइम में मार्केट में कम पड़ जाती है तो आपकी इंसुलिन खत्म भी जल्दी ना हो. सेकेंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग है कि टाइमली एक्सरसाइज करनी जरूरी है. पहले बच्चे स्कूल जा रहे थे, स्कूल में ब्रेक में खेलते थे, वापस आते थे, शाम को बाहर जाते थे, खेलते थे, डोजेस उस हिसाब से सेट सी. अब बच्चे सारा दिन बैठे हैं, या ई एजुकेशन से सुबह दिन में क्लास लगा रहे हैं बैठे हुए, और शाम को बैठ के टीवी और कार्टून देख रहे हैं, और पेरेंट्स भी साथ में व्हाट्सएप देख रहे हैं, बच्चे भी मोबाइल ही देख रहे हैं. सो इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि सुबह के टाइम और शाम के टाइम में 1 घंटा कम से कम एक्सरसाइज जरूर करें। और ये जरूरी नहीं है कि एक्सरसाइज के लिए बच्चों को बाहर जाना पड़े, घर पे बहुत कुछ है जो कर सकते हैं। एंड हमने एक प्रोटोकॉल टाइप ऑफ बनाया था अपने बच्चे फैमिलीज के लिए लॉकडाउन में, जो सबको हमने बताया। सो देर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स यू कैन डू एट होम, यू कैन डू स्किपिंग, यू कैन क्लाइंब अप एंड डाउन स्टेयर्स, एंड यू कैन इवन हेल्प योर पेरेंट्स। सो बच्चे अगर घर के काम में पेरेंट्स की हेल्प करें तो वो भी इट्स अ गुड इनफ एक्सरसाइज टू प्रिवेंट ब्लड ग्लूकोज फ्रॉम गोइंग अप टू हाई लेवल्स। ब्लड ग्लूकोज टेस्टिंग बहुत जरूरी है ऐसे टाइम में। पहले चाहे हम 2 दिन, कई बार हम दिन में 3 बार नहीं चेक कर रहे हैं, 2 दिन 3 दिन में 1 बार चेक कर लिया, ठीक ही चल रही है। बट इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट कि हर रोज एटलीस्ट 2 टाइम्स आप बच्चे की शुगर जरूर चेक करें, ताकि कोई प्रॉब्लम आने से पहले उसको हम प्रिवेंट कर सकें। अगर बच्चा बीमार हो जाता है इस सिचुएशन में, बच्चे नॉर्मल जैसे बाकी बच्चे बीमार हो रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चे भी बीमार हो सकते हैं, तो उसी टाइम शुगर की चेकिंग बढ़ानी है, इंसुलिन की डोजेस चेंज करनी है, अपने डॉक्टर से कांटेक्ट करना है, सो दैट कोई भी ऐसी सिचुएशन ना आए जिससे बच्चे को हॉस्पिटल जाना पड़े। आज की डेट में हॉस्पिटल जाना एक बहुत बड़ा रिस्क है। इस चीज को मैं, और डायबिटीज में अगर प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, जैसे डॉक्टर खरे अभी बता रही थी, वो डायबिटिक कीटो एसिडोसिस हो सकता है। सो इफ यू गो टू द हॉस्पिटल, यू गो टू द आईसीयू, द रिस्क इज मोर। सो ये सब चीजें अगर हम ध्यान में रखते हैं तो हम बच्चों की ब्लड ग्लूकोज नॉर्मल रख सकते हैं। और लॉकडाउन में बच्चे बात कम सुन रहे हैं, जो मुझे टेली कंसल्ट पे सब बता रहे हैं कि बच्चे हमारी बात नहीं सुनते हैं। सो थोड़ा सा मुश्किल जरूर है, पर ये करना ही करना है। सो इस सिचुएशन में बेस्ट ये है कि आप दिन में ज्यादा बार शुगर चेक करें। अगर बच्चे ने गड़बड़ की भी है तो उसको पकड़ लें और उसको करेक्ट करें। सो दैट्स व्हाट आई वुड से, कि बच्चों को ऐसे बचा सकते हैं आप।
With your such a nice advice, Saurav, I think हमारे adult diabetics are feeling left out. So let me go to quickly to Dr. Bhattacharya, that what are the things which the adult diabetics need to do, as Saurav explained, for the pediatric, and then we'll move on to Dr. Bajaj for our healthy life tips on food and nutrition. Yeah, Dr. Bhattacharya.
So I totally agree with Dr. Saurav. So whatever he told can be very much applicable for the adults also. So they need to stick to their diet, they need to exercise. So obviously whatever Dr. Saurav was telling के अभी घर का काम ज़्यादातर लोगों को खुद को ही करना पड़ रहा है, so that is also good enough exercise. But anyway, so discipline, just because you are in the lockdown and you have 3 meetings over Zoom every day, so you need to maintain your schedule. You need to have a fixed time for your diet, and what you need to eat we will get to know from Dr. Meenakshi. And also, if your glycemic control is good, your blood sugars are more or less in the normal range, so you can just stick to the same medication. There is no need to go to a doctor. So but it's very important you check it at least. There is at least, maybe depending on whatever type of medication you are taking. So you cannot set give a set protocol for an adult. If somebody is only on metformin or some metformin and a DPP-4 inhibitor combination with very little chance of hypoglycemia, so maybe infrequent testing is okay, but still some amount of checking is required even at home. If that person is not going to cannot go out, so some amount of monitoring at home is required. But if somebody is on insulin, if somebody is on sulfonylurea, where chance of low blood sugar is higher, chance of hypoglycemia is more, in those situations you need to keep on checking more frequently. You need to keep a tag on your sugars, because unlike children, if the glycemic control in adults is not good, the chance of severe infection is going to be high. So you need to be careful. You can't be casual at this point of time. So it's very, very important to have a disciplined life. Exercise, diet, and medication should be all important aspects even at this time.
So if I have to sum it up, you need to be more stricter with your lifestyle, your sugar, your exercise, your diet, and your medication, and don't make any changes to your medication until unless your doctor tells you to do that. Right. So Meenakshi, you are in great demand. Over to you. What are the nutrition things for the elderly, for the diabetics, and for the children? What all this they should do? You mentioned that they have
to add on to saying what Dr. Uppal said. Pehle to, when we are talking of low carbohydrate and consistency in timing, when it comes to type 1, we have to also remember consistency in carbohydrate. जैसे अगर बच्चे ने 3 फुलके लिए हैं तो अगले दिन 2 फुलके नहीं करने हैं. You know, you have to maintain the consistency in carbohydrate. If you don't maintain that, then there could be either hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia. So that's one very important thing. दूसरी बात, रात को आजकल बच्चे 12, 1, 1:30 बजे तक देख रहे हैं. यूट्यूब से लेके नेटफ्लिक्स सब कुछ चल रहा है. तो उस समय भी चर्चा चल रहा है. हम तो मजाक करते हैं कि फेस मास्क हमने अस्पताल में पहनना है, पेशेंट को देखते हुए पहनना है. एक्चुअली मास्क इन बच्चों को भी बनाना पड़ेगा जो 24 घंटे खाते रहते हैं. हर घंटे में उनकी नई नुमाइश है कि मेरे को ये बना के दो तो वो बना के दो. दूसरा, वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट टू से, इंस्टेंट नूडल्स उन्होंने तो सत्यानाश किया हुआ है व्हेन इट कम्स टू पीपल विद डायबिटीज. एक दिन छोड़ के एक दिन उनको इंस्टेंट नूडल्स चाहिए. फिर मेरे को फोन करके पूछेंगे हमने तो आज खाना ही खाना है, हमको बताओ उसको हेल्दी तरीके से कैसे बनाए. तो दीज आर द सिली क्वेश्चंस. वी हैव टू टेल देम लॉकडाउन है नहीं है, कोविड है नहीं है, तुमने अपना जीवन वैसे ही बिताना है जैसे पहले बिताते थे. ठीक है, थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर in terms of watching television, in terms of enjoying life without compromising on your glycemic control. That's important. And then when it comes to snacking, what is the ideal snack? Obviously you need to choose low GI, low GL. That's one important thing. तो सर जैसे कह रहे थे लो कार्बोहाइड्रेट होना चाहिए. ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि लो कार्बोहाइड्रेट भी हो और दूसरे तरीके से अगर कार्बोहाइड्रेट थोड़ा फेयरली डिसेंट क्वांटिटी में भी हो, वी कैन गो इन फॉर नट्स, वी कैन गो इन फॉर भेल जो छोलों से बनती है. चिट्टे छोले, राजमा, चना, ब्लैक चना, व्हाटएवर, रौंगी, उससे भेल बना सकते हैं. ना कि हम ये लें जो होता है ना पफ्ड राइस फ्लेक्स, जिसको पोहा राइस फ्लेक्स, बट पफ्ड राइस इज अवेलेबल जिससे भेल बनती है, मगर दैट इज वेरी हाई इन जीआई एंड हाई इन जीएल. सो दैट रेजेस द शुगर्स. बच्चों को एक छोटा सा कटोरा दे दिया मगर वो एक कटोरे से काम बनता नहीं है. So that is why to add on to it, you need to add black chana, rongi, rajma, add some chunks of paneer, add some chunks of onion, tomato. उसको एक चाट की तरह बच्चों को बना के दे सकते हैं. पनीर की फ्रैंकी बना के दे सकते हैं. वो क्या कहते हैं, नमकीन चीला बना के दे सकते हैं. कभी कभार बच्चों को पनीर के पकौड़े भी दे सकते हैं, इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. They can also indulge in consuming scrambled eggs with a variety of stuff. अगर ठीक है, if you want to think of, yes sir.
Yeah, continue. We'll go to Saurabh after this. Yeah, please continue.
So you can have tomato soup. One thing with tomato soup is not instant. You have to have fresh tomato soup because uska carbohydrate count absolutely almost zero hai. But one thing I would definitely want to say, some people have this habit of Mary biscuits. सुबह उठ के चाय के साथ 2 मेरी बिस्किट ले लिए, कुछ भी काम नहीं चल रहा है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, वेले बैठे हैं तो 2-3 मेरी बिस्किट और दोबारा चाय के साथ चल गए. शाम को 4 बजे भूख लग रही है, अभी तक कुछ बन के आया नहीं है, फिर 3 मेरी बिस्किट चले गए. मतलब इन अ डे 11 मेरी बिस्किट्स. आई हैड पेशेंट्स हु आर कंज्यूमिंग 11 बिस्किट्स, 52 ग्राम्स का पैकेट खत्म. पूछने के लिए तो 5 रुपए, पता नहीं 7 रुपए का पैकेट है, मगर पैकेट खत्म, which means 12 grams of carbohydrate has gone in. One carbohydrate count has gone in the form of Mary biscuits, which are very high in GI and GL. And when they are going to purchase stuff, वो देखते हैं हाई फाइबर बिस्किट है, भाई हाई फाइबर चीज है, उसमें ये तो ध्यान नहीं देते हैं कि कितना फैट उसमें है. The fat is much higher than the fiber content in their processed food, whatever they are picking up. Another thing is tomato sauce. बच्चे मतलब कुछ भी नमकीन बना के तो उनको टमाटो की सॉस चाहिए साथ में. That tomato sauce has sugar in it, so that has to be kept in mind. ये नहीं है कि हमने बिल्कुल ही बंद किया हुआ है. You can take 10% of your total energy intake from simple sugars, but then glycemic control is important. Na? When you're overdoing with tikki and puri chole and puri aloo and things like that, I think one has to be a little worried about what we are really eating. Another important thing is, to make it more fiber and make it more colorful, they can add पालक को उबाल के उसको आटे में गूंद के उसकी रोटी बना के दे सकते हैं. जो भी दाल है बनी हुई उससे आटा गूंद के उसकी रोटी बना के दे सकते हैं. एंड when you make sambar, you make mixed vegetable sambar. So variety is not an end. Believe me, variety is not an end. ये अपने दिमाग में है. If we want to do it, definitely we can do it. So बच्चों के हिसाब से I think mothers have to take that little extra effort. और कोई चारा नहीं है, उनके साथ 2 बातें करेंगे, डेफिनेटली दे विल अग्री. और जहाँ के ये एक्सरसाइज की बात है, स्पॉट साइकिलिंग, स्टैटिक साइकिलिंग, जैसे सर कह रहे थे, स्किपिंग, ये सब हो सकता है. But before doing skipping or cycling or anything, they have to remember to check their sugars. If they are way high, then obviously they are not supposed to do it, and then meet Dr. Uppal or Dr. Sapnil and then sort out their sugars before they indulge in exercise and stuff like that. दूसरी important चीज ये है, Peter Parker तो कोई है नहीं यहाँ पे. You know, Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider and he became Spider-Man overnight. So immuno-boosting diet is not one such diet जैसे रातों रात खाया और कल सुबह पूरा उनका immunity system एकदम high level पे 200% पे हो गया और उनको COVID नहीं आएगा. So it's not like that, you know. It's the immunogens, the genes, the diet, the microbiome, all of this put together, you know, stand out with your immunity. So, and it's not one food. It's a combination of foods which work through a metabolic pathway to enhance your, you know, innate immunity as well as your adaptive immunity. All this has to work together. दूसरा हम कभी भी कहते हैं ना, you walk into a man's heart through his stomach, right? So हमने यहाँ पे वो काम नहीं करना है. हमने we are going to keep the gut healthy. We do not want gut dysbiosis. So to prevent gut dysbiosis, we need to include enough of fiber in the form of whole grains. Fruits, I would say between 1 to 2 depending on your glycemic control, and choose on an easy fruit. APP, apple, pear, pomegranate, APP. These are all low GI and all the citrus fruits are low GI. Low GI and GL. We have to worry about both. Even guavas are low in GL. And when you think of juices, think of only tomato ka juice because it's a source of vitamin C as well as lycopene. When you think of tomato soup, it's only lycopene. You don't have any vitamin C there. You can even think of a snack like sweet potato boiled with lemon juice squeezed on it, which will convert it to a resistant starch. So these small tips will do wonders to the children.
Great job. Can you also tell people what is GI and what is GL?
Acha. Glycemic index is the rate at which your blood sugar raises, you know, in comparison to a standard reference. But everything which is low GI is not low in GL, and everything which is low in GL is not healthy. For example, if I say take a puri, you know, wheat की पूड़ी बनी हुई है और wheat की चपाती बनी हुई है. The GI of wheat की पूड़ी is lower than wheat की फुल्का, जिस पे घी नहीं डाला हुआ. But at the same time, the glycemic load is important. And third thing is the fat which is used in preparing it or the method of preparation. All these things make a world of difference. अभी आप कैरेट और पोटैटो लोगे, सबको पता है कि उसका ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स, आलू का ग्लाइसेमिक इंडेक्स हाई है और उसका क्या कहते हैं लोड भी 16 है और यहाँ पे बहुत कम है कैरेट. But that does not mean which is low in GI and low in GL can be taken in large quantity. वहां पे भी portion control, mindful eating, chew count, ये सब कुछ बीच बीच में आता है. और बच्चों को ये हमें जरूर सिखाना है कि आराम से खाओ. You know, enjoy what you're eating so that you're actually nourishing yourself. Otherwise, you're just gulping the food and satiety will never ever come. So chew count is important. Lancet में पीछे एक पेपर आया था जिसमें पूरे दिन में you are spending only 26 minutes chewing, whereas you need to spend 15 to 20 minutes chewing your entire meal. You know, 26 minutes पूरे दिन में is definitely not going to do good. So you have to teach them to शांति से खाओ, प्यार से खाओ, चाहे गप्पे मार के खाओ, मगर खाओ वही जो जरूरी है. Choose the right thing and eat the right thing, right timing, right quantity, right quality. These are important key factors when it comes to glycemic control. And when it comes to immunity, आजकल ये बहुत चल रहा है ना, हल्दी वाला दूध पियो. करेक्ट, हल्दी वाला दूध पियो, मगर कितनी हल्दी डालो, एक चम्मच थोड़ी डालनी है. You are allowed only 2.5 grams per day. That is the acceptable daily intake. उससे ऊपर नहीं जाना है. So what is 2.5 grams per day? हमको 2 चुटकी सुबह लेनी है, 2 चुटकी शाम को लेनी है. चाहे डायबिटिक हो, नॉन डायबिटिक हो, they can take it very well. उसमें अदरक भी डालो, इलायची भी डालो. हाँ, अगर डायबिटिक है उसमें पाम शुगर या जैगरी नहीं डाल सकते हैं. You have to take it without those visible sugars. So haldi, adrak is important. Another important thing is when we talk of immunity, remember God. हम भगवान को याद करते हैं ना कि हमको कोविड नहीं आना चाहिए. So G is for ginger, garlic, guava, low GI, low GL and green color capsicum. Capsicum में भी बहुत सारा vitamin C है, बहुत सारा phytonutrients है, fiber है, carbohydrate count एकदम low है उसका. So G has to be remembered. Second is O. O is omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids किस में है? अगर हम बच्चों की बात करें, do not cross 1 teaspoon of flaxseed per day. क्योंकि यूरोपियन फूड सेफ्टी का गाइडलाइन है that you're not supposed to take 1 teaspoon more than a day for a child. That's very important. So flaxseed is a source of omega-3. The fenugreek seeds which everybody consumes in all forms of preparations, or soak it overnight and then take it. That also can be consumed for omega-3. You have walnuts, which can be consumed, which can be taken by any age group, other than if you're having renal failure and hyperkalemia, you'll have to worry about walnuts and things like that. Otherwise, you don't have to worry. Green leafy vegetables are a very super source of omega-3 fatty acids, which people forget. Now, people associate greens with something which is not tasty. Point number one. Second thing, which is fiber, which is calcium, which is iron. Definitely only drumstick leaves have iron. Spinach has no iron. Then another, ये बहुत बड़ा चस्का है लोगों को, कहते हैं मेरे को अनीमिया है तो मेरे को dates खाने. Dates is a very poor source of iron. उसमें सिर्फ glycemic index और glycemic load एकदम high है. Fruits में जब हम बोले, we should say a big no to banana and a very big no to dates. These two things definitely should not be consumed. And unless it is a sick day diet, where you are allowing a little freedom so that the child does not go into starvation, ketosis, or hypoglycemia, that's when you go a little liberal with tender coconut water or stuff like that. But one needs to remember that depending on your meal, you never clump a fruit along with your meal. Agar aapne ek fruit meal ke saath liya hai, definitely the postprandial peak is going to be way high. So you can't have your good glycemic control. So it has to be taken either mid-morning, evening, or bedtime, or post-exercise, something like that, where you can incorporate a fruit alongside. And apart from that, you have star anise, which is about 0.5 grams, which is 8 chutki per day, which has antiviral activity, not anti-COVID. Antiviral activity, which can be included in your diet on daily basis. चाहे आटे में गूंदो, चाहे उसको दाल में डालो, चाहे ग्रेवी में डालो, you can take that. Second is kalonji seeds, not more than 2 grams, which is 4 chutki. Okay, but some people develop diarrhea with kalonji seeds. So you need to remember that you just cannot go overboard with kalonji seeds. Yes, if you can handle it, nothing like it, you can go ahead, but not more than 2 grams, which is about 4 pinches. उसके बाद हम बोलते हैं, you can take cinnamon, but cinnamon should not cross 3 months. There is a limit of 1.5 grams. So एक डेढ़ चुटकी से ऊपर नहीं लेना है. वो फ्रूट पे they can sprinkle it. That improves glycemic control also. At the same time, it's an immuno booster. So all these
thank you, Meenakshi. I have to hold you here. Thanks. That was very, very interesting, very colloquial. Nobody can say that you are from Chennai, right? Okay. You were awesome. Let me get back to Saurabh. You wanted to add something, and there are 2 questions for you. We have been flooded with questions. I am not taking any technical prescription questions, but there are 2 questions for you. One, is there any special recommendations if a type 1 diabetic has to be quarantined?
No, there are no specific recommendation. In fact, what they have to follow at home is discipline. And the same thing goes for a quarantine also. Because as such, the difference, there is a stark difference between a child with diabetes and an adult with diabetes. In type, more so if some type 1 diabetics are watching, type 1 diabetes versus type 2 diabetes. So essentially, your discipline in diet and insulin that and physical activity has to be the same even in quarantine.
And you wanted to add something when Meenakshi was speaking.
Yeah, it was very well summarized by Dr. Bajaj. I just wanted to add that when it comes to children, parents have to act as role models. There's no escaping that. Because आजकल सब लोग डाइट बहुत एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं, नई नई चीजें बना रहे हैं, फेसबुक व्हाट्सएप पे डाल रहे हैं और फ्री बैठे हैं तो दिल करता है चलो ये बनाओ वो बनाओ. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आप सब अपनी मर्जी की चीजें खाओ और बच्चे को बोलो कि आपको नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि आपको डायबिटीज है. That's totally a big no. They have to lead by example. That's what I wanted to add.
Thanks, Saurabh. I go to Swapnil now. Swapnil, there is a question for you. My elderly parents are diabetic. Can I give them chloroquine prophylaxis?
So I can give you US perspective. I know things are different in India, but in US, we are not recommending hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic measure. We have looked at the studies that came out of China initially, and then some Italian studies. And actually there was a study in Brazil. Abhi Brazil mein jo study hui thi, they were using a little higher dose, but they had to stop it kyunki zyada log usme death ho gayi. So we are not using it as a prophylactic at home. I would say that the usual precautions jo hote hain, hygiene ke, in sab ke unko aap karen. Diabetes ka control acha rakhein, but I am not recommending, and I don't think endocrinologists over the country are for major part recommending hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil here in US. हाइड्रोक्सीक्लोरोक्विन हम लोग उनको दे रहे हैं जो लोग आईसीयू में एडमिटेड हैं, और उसका अभी बहुत ही कंपेलिंग डेटा नहीं आया है, तो वी विल सी हाउ इट गोज। बट आईयू का मैं वेयर आई वर्क इंडियाना यूनिवर्सिटी में, there was a small data from ER that did not look very promising even in the hospitalized patients. So bottom line, no.
Thanks, Swapnil. And we are left with the last 8 minutes of this webinar. We have already reached to more than 3,000 people. Again, 200 people watching live, 1,300 views. Dr. Bhattacharya, hydroxychloroquine in elderly diabetics, what does India say?
So India is very, very categorical. So you cannot give hydroxychloroquine in an unsupervised way. So it is only recommended as per ICMR for health professionals who have been exposed to, who have a high chance of exposure to COVID-19 or other close contacts. Under medical supervision, it can be considered. So if your parents are safe at home, they didn't have any past history of exposure, it's not recommended even as per as Indian and ICMR guidelines.
Thank you. So the last 6 minutes, we have more questions. We'll take them. So teleconsultation has become the norm, and you all have said that either continue with your lifestyle management, nutrition, exercise, medicine, and in problem, please contact your doctor on teleconsultation. So how are you managing, Swapnil, how teleconsultation and OPDs, remote OPDs have become the norm now? And how you are using home healthcare if in any form? We in India have uninterrupted services across all our units, and we're trying to maintain all the services like that. Yeah. So your views, Swapnil.
So this is a very, very good question, Gaurav. We in Indiana University, we changed to teleconsultation. We were seeing 100% of patients in person, and we moved to teleconsults in 2 days, 100%. We reached out to 96% of our patients. The important is not that we reached out to these patients, but the importance is that we could actually address their concerns, their questions, all they needed, their medications renewal in the safety of their home. And more importantly, the patients had the comfort that, yes, I have my physician who I have been seeing, and I have a champion for my health. So I think telemedicine is the key in this pandemic right now. And this gives the patient a lot of comfort that they have somewhere to turn to. As far as healthcare at home is concerned, US has well-established system for healthcare, and we take care of, healthcare at home, like healthcare services take care of a lot of patients. And there is no way that these services can be mirrored in any other place. These are services that they really do well at home. These are not the same things that can be done in hospital. As well, as far as diabetes is concerned, we have experience treating very severe, very high blood sugars in a safe manner and under monitoring and supervision at home. We have treated mild diabetic ketoacidosis at home. I was talking to you about subcutaneous insulin regimens for treating hyperglycemia at home. So I think if we have a good healthcare service, which can keep the supervision, monitoring, and know when actually to send the patient to the hospital, these are all viable and very good options for the patients.
Thank you, Swapnil. Saurabh, have you treated any DKs in Gurdaspur, Philor, Jalandhar, where people could not reach you?
Yes, definitely. And the subcute regimens have really been coming to our rescue. And there are so many children, we have prevented them from reaching hospital and treated them at home. So it's really a lifesaver. And I would say it's a game changer for the future, these subcute regimens.
Dr. Saptarishi, your experience in managing patients at home?
So again, I am at present sticking only to teleconsults. So we have this video platform. So Max, where I am working, we have a dedicated app and a system for that. So the patient also downloads the app. So we also were not allowed legally to do it. Now we have recommendations and guidelines from the government where it has been legalized. So it has to stay. So as already told by Dr. Swapnil, so there are multiple advantages. So there is less chance of exposure. Hospital staffs are also getting infected. The chance of infection is both ways. So the doctor can also get infected, and even the patient can also get infected. So either way, till we are in a more comfortable zone, I think unless there is a dire necessity, it's better to go ahead with teleconsultation.
Yeah, I think that's the new normal. And at Healthcare at Home also, I'd like to tell all my viewers that we have teleconsultation helplines on, where we have general practitioners and specialists addressing the problems of people who cannot go and visit their doctors. At times, they are not able to get to their doctors, or they don't even know which doctor to get to. And as I said, the authentic information is what is lacking in these times. Additionally, we also have these drug delivery services where we have kept uninterrupted delivery of drugs for insulins and AEDs and onco drugs and things like that. Thanks, my panel. Such a nice conversation. I think huge engagement. We have reached to more than 3,500 people as of now, as we speak. Last 2 minutes left. And this series of webinars, after a lot of talk on lifestyle management and nutrition, thanks to Meenakshi, you were awesome today. We are going to have another session on home exercise programs, tele-rehabilitation, how physiotherapy is good for people in these times, right? On Wednesday evening, same time, 7:30, which I'll request people to log in if at all they're interested to know how to maintain their exercise schedule. Also, as Saurabh said, बच्चे लेट सो रहे हैं, लेट उठ रहे हैं, exercise का नामो निशान नहीं है, Netflix पे लगे हैं, that's the norm everywhere. So thank you so much, Swapnil, Dr. Saptarshi, Saurabh, Meenakshi, for coming on our panel and shedding so much light on so pertinent questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our viewers. We'll see you again on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Thank you.
Bye.